I don't often review monitors, but when I do, I like to look at some great price-to-performance 4K UHD beasts that many tend to ignore. So today I'm proudly presenting you the INNOCN 27C1U, a 27-inch screen with a resolution of 4K or rather UHD, an IPS panel, and a refresh rate of 60 Hz at a price of a mere $400 or even less. The casual gamers among you might find those 60 Hz off-putting, but don't worry about it too much because due to a respectable lower input lag, you can still experience some great gaming sessions with this thing. But primarily, this monitor is aimed towards art, according to the manufacturer, so aspects where accurate color reproduction as well as good ergonomics are crucial. As a matter of fact, given the price range this monitor is in, it can get fairly bright with up to 400 nits, and according to the manufacturer, is offering us a 98% coverage of the DCI P3 color space. In that price range, that's not something you should take for granted, especially not when considering what the INNOCN 27C1U additionally is capable of. Guys, for $400 or less, we are getting a whole lot of monitor for the money, but who should buy it at the end of the day, and what are the things you should probably look out for? As far as what comes included, first of all, the screen itself, a base as well as stand are also included, a pretty powerful external power supply that is capable of outputting up to 150 watts, the needed power cord for it. Furthermore, there's a DisplayPort, USB Type-C, as well as USB 3.0 cable for the hub. Unfortunately, no HDMI cable. Last but not least, paper documentation, such as the manual and a calibration report with some good results. They are apparently really proud about that. Very well, the monitor is easily assembled within a few simple steps without the need for any tools. Needless to say, today's monitor does come with ergonomic functionality. That would for one be height adjustment of up to 120mm, respectively 90 degrees pivot, 45 degrees swivel, and last but not least, the tilting angle of 5 degrees forward as well as 20 degrees backwards. A nice detail I really dig are the angle and height markings on the stand and base. Additionally, in the front of the base, there's even a integrated 20cm ruler. But what kind of tech are we actually dealing with here? As said before, we are talking of an IPS panel with a color depth of 8 bits plus FRC, a 60 Hz refresh rate, although there's no information on the response time available by the manufacturer. Now, because the screen is capable of a max brightness of 400 nits, it's got the HDR400 certification, but we aren't talking of the actual real deal when having HDR in mind. Also, neither do we get FreeSync nor G-Sync on here, something many gamers will be heartbroken about. In the first line, the 27C1U is offering us the usual video inputs, such as one DisplayPort 1.4, as well as two HDMI 2.0 ports, but even USB-C is on board. That connection doesn't just act as a video input, but can also provide up to 65 watts of power, for instance to charge certain devices and whatnot. Additionally, we are also getting a 3.5mm audio output and two USB 3.0 ports, part of the hub function. Now a few words about the aesthetics. They've kept it all very simple and minimalistic, so that's a plus in my book. The screen bezels are fairly slim, but it can always get slimmer than that, of course. The build quality impresses right away. While the outer shell may be out of plastic as usual, the core is usually metal, which is why nothing appears finicky or fragile by any stretch of the imagination. Even though the screen does wobble slightly when touching it or moving the table, that's complaining at a high level though. Navigating through the OSD menu is done via physical buttons. The menu certainly offers us quite the number of customization options. Worth noting to some also are those eye-saving features that basically filter blue light, which is then often marketed as reading mode. I personally find the feature going by the name of gravity sensor a whole lot more interesting though. since phones, for instance, can be hooked up to this monitor via USB-C without any issues, that is, if your smartphone even supports that. Thanks to that gravity sensor, the monitor can automatically detect whether the image should be displayed horizontally or vertically. Not that I myself would need that feature, but I felt the need to let you know about it. Those of you that like having two input signals displayed on one and the same monitor will be happy to hear features such as PIP and PBP are fully supported here. However, let's finally get to one of the most important aspects in my opinion, the color reproduction and speed, or rather input lag, etc. While I certainly lack any kind of testing and measuring equipment for professional monitor testing, judging with my bare eyes, I can confirm that this 27C1U performs above average when it comes to color reproduction. That's something one can easily make out when running through all these tests with different color tones and gradients, even though the camera simply isn't capable of capturing that. The viewing angles are typically good for an IPS panel, but that also means we do get some of the typical IPS glow as well. However, that's something no manufacturer can truly be blamed for. Unpleasant backlight bleeding, uniformity issues, or bothersome tints I was not able to experience with my specific sample. I have intentionally highlighted specific problem zones by adjusting the ISO settings on my camera, but I've also made recordings that represent the view through our human eyes, more or less. There certainly are minor problem zones, such as a very minor uneven distribution of brightness, but that's the case with every monitor out there. We usually don't notice that with our bare eyes, at least not right away. So as far as image quality is concerned, a truly remarkably good result. But what about actual speed and response? Given it's a 60Hz panel, the input lag really isn't too bad. While I don't actually own any devices to measure it, judging by feeling, it's pretty good. No troubling input lag here. Gaming is still fun with this specific monitor, but sure enough, if you wish to game on something really responsive, you should generally avoid 60Hz monitors altogether. Those of you, on the other hand, that need to have and strive for 4K UHD and IPS in this price range, you will have to learn to live with the most common refresh rate, 60Hz. Alright, I'd still like to address two more topics. The 27C1U comes equipped with two built-in 5-watt speakers. These admittedly sound pretty much like crap, but compared to all other integrated speakers and monitors I've had to endure, these can almost be considered top-notch, both in terms of volume and bass power. Finally, I've also taken the liberty to measure the power consumption of that screen at different brightness levels. It quickly turns out that INNOCN's 27C1U certainly can be considered fairly power efficient. The bottom line here is, INNOCN are very serious about their 27C1U monitor, and they've unleashed an incredible piece of equipment on the market. It has an extremely good price-to-performance ratio. Of course, features such as FreeSync, G-Sync are non-existent on here. Also, no 120 or 144 Hz should be expected at the given price point of $400 or less. But the quality, color accuracy, as well as lower input lag make this 27C1U among 4K UHD monitors a very attractive all-rounder deal. And that's certainly worth recommending, especially when keeping that price in mind. With that said, thank you very much for watching, and until the next video.